and welcome back to my channel. This is Didsbury Art Studio and I'm Sally. And in today's video, I'm so happy because two girls that come to my Saturday art class are here today, and I'm going to be teaching them how to do Suffolk puffs, also called yo-yos in the US. I've actually done a video of this before. Yeah, I'm going to be doing a couple of different things with them, so let's get into it. So I was having a look at Pinterest earlier, and you can see the different things that can be done with Suffolk puffs. And I know that you were talking about sort of a theme of seascape, and I was thinking these ones in particular look like your barnacles.
Yeah.
Some photographs just using kind of whites or different thicknesses of fabrics. But have a look at this one too. Like, this is another technique I'll show you in a bit, kind of using contrasting materials to go in the center of some of the Suffolk puffs. This one's rather lovely because it's kind of got that tie-dyed background, and then it's got scattered beads around it, and then the different structures that can be created again through just the thicknesses of the fabrics. So we'll just have a look at some of the others. As I said, traditionally, this was a little bit more like sort of things that, well, that says 1940s, the sort of things that Suffolk puffs were used for. And actually, they used to be filled with stuffing, wadding to make a quilted sheet warmer. But look at that one there, that's just kind of like a collar shoulder piece that's been done with the sort of thicker velvets and things. So the different fabrics really affect, like that one, just layering it up, it's actually come out quite floppy, hasn't it? And you can change the shape of them, but that's a little bit jellyfish-like. You can also sort of layer those up as well. There's some really quite nice ideas on Pinterest there. You can see what you can do. I mean, look at that, layering up the Suffolk puffs. You can have some smaller ones in the center. You can use buttons, jewels, all sorts of different things. Those are quite nice with the transparent fabric, and then just varying up the size. Look at that whole cape that's been done with Suffolk puffs. So yeah, it does. But just keeping the same colour and just repeating it, just how effective those multiples are. What we're going to do then is, I've decided today that we're going to be using various different types of fabrics and textures, and I have got a load of these fabrics, even more that we can choose from. But just to save time for the girls, I have actually cut out quite a few different fabrics for them to begin with, but then they can kind of choose and mix it around, and hopefully they'll come out both very different. And again, for myself, I've also used lots of different fabrics. Some of them are similar to the girls and some of them aren't. So I've got 3 different sizes. The first one is quite small, and I just drew around one of these pots, and I've got a couple of different textures in there. The second one was 8 inches in diameter, and I literally just used a little template out of card. And then the third one was 10 inches in diameter, and that's going to be our largest one. So we've got 3 different ones that we're going to do. I've done a video before which showed these Suffolk puffs here, and you can see that it's a technique which used to be used for patchwork but can also be used for decoration. You can overlap them, you can change the scale of them, you can have really large holes in the middle or smaller holes, and I'll show you how to do that. We can fray the edges, we can put beads on, jewels on, buttons on, pins on even. These can be used on a mannequin and built up. You can change the scales of them. I'm going to show you here how to do the basic Suffolk puff, and just to quickly show you. And what I want to do with this is I'm going to create a little hem. So I'm just going to fold over the fabric like that. And I'm also going to put a chunky knot at the end of my thread, and we're using upholstery thread, so it's really quite thick, and hopefully it's not going to snap off when we pull the threads. And I want to make sure that this knot is in the center, so I'm just going to have that on the front of the fabric, and we're just going to try and do evenish lengths of stitches. So literally going to have stitches about that long, and I'm just folding over the edge like so, and you're just going to go around the circumference like that. And this would take me a little bit of a while, so I'm going to stop in a minute, but as long as you two get this. Is that pretty clear? So you literally do that all the way around and then stop right just before that knot that you've got there, and then you pull the actual thread and it will start gathering in. So you imagine this one here. So you just start pulling the thread, tie a few knots just to secure it, and it will come out like this. So that's the first way, putting a hem on it. The second way is using no hem. So I really like this one. So I quite like that one because obviously you can just mess about with the edges and create that nice little frayed effect, which is cool. That's a layered up one. I'll show you how to do that in a bit. I've chosen a fabric here that's a kind of woolly fabric, but it would fray and is going to fray. So I want to choose that on purpose, really, just because I want to have that edge showing. So again, I'm just going to have my knot in the inside, and I'm just going to do stitches all the way around the circumference. So you go all the way around and then you pull, and it's going to gather in the middle. Is that clear? Yeah. Yep. What I suggest you do to begin with, I'm going to be stopping and starting just to show you different techniques that we can do. But just to begin with, let's stick to doing a hem and a frayed edge, and you can choose which size you want to do. They're all going to come out differently because you can see with the little tiny ones that it just depends on the fabric that you choose, really. This one's a little bit different. I was going to show you this a bit later, but you can actually start sewing like a circle in the middle rather than around the circumference. And then when you pull it, you've got more fabric that's showing on the top because I've layered it up with lace and satin fabric, so it comes out really delicate.
Wouldn't it look nice like that? It looks like one of the artists on Pinterest. The seascapes.
Oh,
mixed dresses.
Like it. So just to say then that the sizes of these, obviously depending on which template you've chosen, if you can just kind of get your head around it, that it sort of decreases by half the diameter. So if you're using this one, which is 8 inches, it's going to come out half of that. So the little mini ones, you can see they're actually half of this size. Okay, so I should have said earlier, when you're deciding on how long you want your thread to be, I literally just put the thread around the circumference and then just cut it off, and that's the amount that I use. Okay, so when you've gone all the way around and you've gone right up to your knot, I mean, that's probably enough too. So you've obviously gone for a little bit of layering, that looks good, and you've given it a hem. So what you do now is you're just going to just that's lovely. Okay, so and then what we want to do is just you pull it to as far as you want it to go. So for example, if you wanted to put anything inside, you just leave it open a little bit and just have a bit of a space showing, and then you tie a knot over here. But if you want it closed and very tight, then you need to make sure that you put a couple of stitches through those gathers, kind of go backwards and forwards a couple of times and put a knot in it, and you can really push the knot into the center so it's not on show.
Okay.
All right, pull it again. It was just that you did something there where when you pulled it, it kind of went sort of unusual shape rather than round, and that was really, you can play that to your advantage if that's something that you want to use. So you've put lighter fabric inside and outside because you want it to fray up, don't you?
Yes, and I've used a fabric that frays in the middle, and then I might heat the
oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that.
I need that.
Look at those ripples in there. So if you were looking at water and that kind of idea, just that really lends itself. And I really like the way that maybe irregular kind of, it's a bit, you know, it's on one side, again, you can use that to your advantage. It's a little bit like when I did that kind of flower one. You can use some of the pouches to make up a bigger shape.
Yeah.
So that's really quite lovely. There's lots of different things that are going on here. Like you've pulled the thread, and then we've got a little bit of height going on over here, and we've got these little chiffon over the top here, which adds a little bit of height. And then the other thing that you can do is have lots of different threads coming out. Lots of different coloured threads could come out from the centre. I'm just seeing this thread here. But yeah, I'm loving it. That's quite unusual too, isn't it? Because you've kind of got this fabric manipulation gathered here. And then what about just leaving some of it, again, just undone? So you've got these different shapes happening. Each one could be, you've kind of got pictures of barnacles. Maybe, you know, because they're all so natural and unique, that maybe each of you Suffolk puffs could be different as well. Yeah.
It also, it's like...
How do I tie it?
Tight,
Yeah.
like, something in the middle.
You could tie a big bead in the middle, like a big pearl.
Like something.
Even like one of these.
Yeah, one of those.
It's like, what is the thing called with the pearls inside?
Clams.
Clams.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to tie it off, I don't want to pull any of it because you've got it in a particular spot, haven't you? Have a look where the end of your thread's gone, and then just take your needle back inside. I think we're going to have to go over there, through a couple of ripples, and then you might have to come back this way and then tie a knot, and the knot will go inside. Got a few layers to go through there. It is all about the placement of them, so you can have them overlapped and you can hand stitch those down. You can have some little tiny ones in between. There, it's definitely the composition. On over here, we've got this layered up effect, which is rather nice. And whether it was intentional or not, we've got some of the purple fabric coming away there. We were just talking about how we could get some beads showing underneath there on the base fabric. And what have you got that on there?
Just cutting some of the edges, like...
Ooh.
Get it frayed.
Slashing through. Yeah. So that's one of the, is that the smallest one?
Yes.
Yeah. And we've got this one finished off. Got some height to that one, that looks good. And then you're doing the hem on this one. Then I've just done two of the larger ones. And again, I've tried to just intentionally just leave some of these frayed edges showing at the top. Okay then, for the next one that we're going to do, quite simply, is I've chosen the medium size circle that I've got, and I've sewn all the way around the edge. I've given this one a hem. This was just some dyed fabric that I had left over from a project. So it's got some Rit dye in the middle there. I think it was a shibori video I did a long time ago. It's just some leftovers. And then I'm just going to pull this. This one's going to be quite structured because it's quite a, I think it's actually a thick linen. And I'm going to pull that, and then at this stage I'm going to use a little bit of fleece here. So I'm just going to, I just want to see what it would look like padded out, and I'm going to leave a little bit of the felt just hanging out a little bit like that. I'm going to pull that bit of a shape. I mean, I'm just using this, I'm just thinking, right, we'll twist that. You could wrap that, you could have threads coming out, you could have some wools coming out. That might be an idea. And you can just stuff those with the wadding, and then you could just have a small amount sort of coming out at the top. I'll just show you, in fact, you've both got like a square piece of fabric, and what you do is, I'll go back to this one in a minute because it's the same sort of thing, but it's this one's a rectangle, this one's a square. You just fold over your hem, and when you get to a corner, you just put the edge of your fabric in a little bit like that. This one just folds over, then you put your hem in on that side, and you just take your stitch over the top. And you just carry on sewing. I should be using a thimble here, and you just carry on to the end, and this just gives a different effect again as well. It's going to give a different effect just because it's thicker fabric, but the square just comes out really quite. Get to the corner over here, I'm just going to pull it to show you what it looks like. As I said, you do exactly the same with the rectangle one. So I'm coming to a corner again, you just literally fold that in, so you get rid of that corner, turn that down and that one down, and just get to the end to show you. And pull this one. Really hope it doesn't break. Please don't break. I just chose these fabrics just because I thought they were a little bit kind of like sea-like, kind of.
Yeah, I like the
just
shine on that.
Yeah, a little bit of a shimmer, kind of reflective. So it's definitely harder to pull this fabric, I'm finding, but I've got halfway around and you can see.
Looks really good.
Yeah, that's going to take me a little bit of time. I'll show you guys in a minute, but that is the rectangle one. So from that small piece of fabric, you can see that it just goes in a different shape. It's not coming out circular, it's just coming out a little bit more irregular.
Yeah. You could have multiple, you could have a look.
Or like this.
Just managed to pull this square edge one of the round ones. You can see there is a difference. It's a little bit more square, but not as exaggerated as I thought it would be. That was quite difficult to pull because of the thickness of the fabric. The size of it's absolutely fine. So what I did was I just got two threads. I got the front thread and the back where the knot is, and then I pulled them both and tied a couple of knots but I was never going to get it any tighter than that. What were you saying?
Like with this one where it's like in the middle, you can like cut the inside out, so it's got like a smaller edge. Ooh. And then so you can have like, you can see, and then if you do like a bigger one on the outside, it's like all different.
I really like that idea. Okay, so to do this smaller one, which is just more fabric flowing out, isn't it? To do that, I'm literally just going to use this stripy blue fabric, and I'm going to use this chiffon behind it. And instead of going around the edge of the circumference there, you just go in the middle in a circle, just trying to keep it parallel to the edge. Make a circle like so. Get around. You can go even smaller than that, but I'll just go that far. You just decide how much fabric you want showing. That's got quite a bit of fabric showing. So I've literally just done a small circle there, and then I'm just going to pull that, and it just gives you that little bit there. You can have some fabric stuffed in there to make it more of a shape. Yeah. You could lay that one up, to be fair, more than I have done. I've only just used two on these ones, but you could use a couple of the netting in there as well. So I managed to find this fabric, which was the scrim fabric that I'd dyed in the past, and I think I must have just sewn on the sewing machine with free motion embroidery, and I just used silk on the back. And now I'm thinking, what is this going to look like as a Suffolk puff? So I'm going to have a go at sewing around the edge. What are we doing there?
I've just got synthetic over the top with a dyed fabric. And I'm doing the one with the hem.
One of the students has done a little slashed fabric piece, a Suffolk puff. So this is one of the smaller ones, and she's laid it up. And then did you cut with scissors and use your fingers and
like frayed it out?
So that comes out really nicely. And then she's just pulled it into the centre, so it has gone really tight. So we can't see through the middle, but we've got all these slash pieces that we can see the lace behind it. It's a really delicate piece. And then we've got this little tiny piece here with the, I think it was actually, yeah, something like that, B&M or something, with the chiffon fabric over the top. And then it's just come out really nicely with the gathered edge. Imagine those multiples of those. That's good. So I have actually got some little samples of fabrics out here, which you can both use. And I just thought, just looking at the colour wheel as well, that with one of your pieces, if you left a gap in the centre, you could use colours on the colour wheels, like your greens and your blues and your turquoises, and have that in the centre. Left some little swatches out. These little swatches came from Leon's Fabric in Chorlton, and they were really cheap in one of those scrap boxes. We've got dyed fabric here with a different tonal. We've got into the purple and the blue. So we've got like a little frayed one. Should we try them on the mannequin? I think just putting them as a cluster together work really well, don't they?
Yeah, all the different...
Yeah, all the textures, the layering.
You've got the green, I feel like you can have like an ombre.
Oh my god, yeah, all the green sort of clustering.
Yeah.
And then maybe if you move the yellow one like down, so it's like blues, green.
That links really well around here, doesn't it? With the turquoises and the greens.
Yeah, these two. I like that.
Look at that.
I really like the dangly ones.
That's the scrim that's been dyed, and then it was just a circle, and then I've just done a tiny little SUFFOLK puff, and that works well. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. Because we've got more ideas, I'm going to do part 2. Don't forget to subscribe and like and leave me a comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!